Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has claimed his office's only involvement in the corrupt sports rort scheme was to pass along information. So why has the Audit Office told the Senate today that there were 136 emails about sports rorts going back and forth between the Prime Minister's office and Senator Mackenzie's office in under 6 months?
The Prime Minister has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Neither I nor my office were the decision makers in the process that governs the sports grants program. The decision maker was, as has been rightly identified through the Audit Office processes and other reviews, was the former Sports Minister. As I actually stated at the National Press Club when asked about these matters, Mr Speaker, what Prime Ministers have always done is support their colleagues, Mr Speaker, because I trust the judgment of my colleagues about knowing what's best for their communities, Mr Speaker. I know that the member for Petrie knows what's best for his community. I know that the member for Boothby knows what's best for her community, that the member for Lindsay knows what's best for her community, and I listen closely.
The member for Lyons is warned.
Our communities right across the country.
The Prime Minister will resume his seat. The Leader of the Opposition on a point of order.
Yes, Mr Speaker, it was a very clear question about the 136 emails.
Yeah,
goes to relevance. The Prime Minister's not talking. Wasn't about.
Well, I'm just going to ask the Leader of the Opposition to resume his seat. I mean, as you know, I listened very carefully to the questions. I believe the Prime Minister's completely in order because of the preamble that said claims his office was only involved, etc., in passing along, and so the Prime Minister essentially reiterated that at the start of the answer and is now elaborating on that very point. Yes, the Leader of the Opposition on the point of order.
The first part of the question did go to his officers and the Prime Minister's claim he was passing on information from members. The member for Lindsay wasn't elected at the time. That's one of the members who's just been mentioned.
Leader of the Opposition
and that's
will
why
resume his
this
seat. Leader of the Opposition will resume his seat. The Leader of the House on a point of order.
The Leader of the Opposition said something that he knows needs to be withdrawn.
I listen. No, look, member for Isaacs will leave under Standing Order 94A. The Manager of Opposition Business is seeking the call, and members on my right as well. The Manager of Opposition Business is entitled to seek the call without the member for Isaacs bellowing between us. The Manager of Opposition Business, if anyone's sympathetic, they're welcome to follow him. It's voluntary, you know. The Manager of Opposition Business.
Yes, Speaker, just referring to the various precedents where there is a difference between allegations that are made personally against a member and a description of a scheme or of government behaviour.
And no, I'll just say I heard the Leader of the Opposition very clearly. He essentially reiterated the point he'd made in his question about the scheme, and I've studied that very carefully because he's gone very close to the line, leaned over it almost a couple of times but not crossed it in some of the motions. But I'm saying to the Leader of the Opposition, he made the point himself what the first part of the question said, and if he doesn't want the Prime Minister to address that, he shouldn't have had it in the question. The Prime Minister, it doesn't mean that you can stand up on points of order and start trying to correct what you see as factual matters. You can do that in other forms of the House. Prime Minister has the call.
So, Mr Speaker, but I'm happy to take the Leader of the Opposition's interjection, because what I know about the member for Lindsay, even if she wasn't in this place, Mr Speaker, she knew what was right for her community. And guess what, Mr Speaker? Guess what, Mr Speaker? The people of Lindsay agree with me, Mr Speaker, because they elected the member for Lindsay, because the member for Lindsay knows what's best for her community. Now, Mr Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition may think, Mr Speaker, you're not allowed to consult with communities.
Members on both sides.
That those who are outside of this place have no knowledge about what's right for their communities. But on our side, Mr Speaker, we understand that people who have a deep understanding of their community are in a very good position to advocate, Mr Speaker. So, Mr Speaker, whether we're members or anyone else, Our office, Mr Speaker, made representations, as I did, Mr Speaker, on what was in the best interests of those programs and in the best interests of those communities. But we were not the decision maker. And as I said at the National Press Club, my office provided information based on the representations made to us, including information about other funding options or programs relevant to project proposals. But I can tell you what, Mr Speaker, smells about the Leader of the Opposition. What smells about the Leader of the Opposition is that he...
No, the Leader of the Opposition will resume his seat. Members on my right, I'm just going to say to the Prime Minister, even though this question had a preamble, it didn't go to any alternative policies. Ministers who've been asked about alternative policies today have been at pains to point out that they've been asked about alternatives, and this is not an opportunity to go beyond the subject matter that was in the question. The Prime Minister.
Speaker, so I've set out the role that my office played. All I know is that when the Leader of the Opposition was a minister, he threw the rule book away and knowingly funded ineligible projects. Want to talk about corruption?
Members on both sides. Members on both sides. Member for Bonner can just pause for a second. If people can just pause, I'd like to inform the House we have present in the gallery this